Hello, welcome again. We're very glad to have with us this afternoon Commissioner Stella Kyriakides to take a couple of questions about our vaccine strategy in view of recent developments. I give the floor to the Commissioner for an initial statement.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I last communicated with you on Monday to express our serious concerns regarding the intention of AstraZeneca to supply considerably fewer doses in the coming weeks than agreed and announced. Since then, we have been making all efforts to resolve the situation. We convened a third meeting of the steering board on Monday night, which resulted again in insufficient explanations from the company and deep dissatisfaction among the member states. Now, let me be crystal clear. The 27 European Union member states are united that AstraZeneca needs to deliver on its commitments in our agreements. We are in a pandemic. We lose people every day. These are not numbers, and they're not statistics. These are persons with families, with friends and colleagues that are all affected as well. Pharmaceutical companies, vaccine developers have moral, societal and contractual responsibilities which they need to uphold. The view that the company is not obliged to deliver because we signed a best effort agreement is neither correct nor is it acceptable. We signed an advance purchase agreement for a product which at the time did not exist and which still today is not yet authorised. And we signed it precisely to ensure that the company builds the manufacturing capacity to produce the vaccine early so that they can deliver a certain volume of doses the day that it is authorised. The logic of these agreements was as valid then as it is now. We provided de-risking investment up front in order to get a binding commitment from the company to pre-produce even before it gets authorization. Not being able to ensure manufacturing capacity is against the letter and the spirit of our agreement. We reject the logic of first come, first served. That may work at the neighbourhood butchers, but not in contracts, and not in our advance purchase agreements. There's no priority clause in the advance purchase agreement. And there is also no hierarchy of the 4 production plants named in the advance purchase agreement. 2 are in the EU and 2 are located in the UK. Now, we intend to defend the integrity of our investments and the taxpayers' money that has been invested. We remain always open to engage with the company to resolve any outstanding issues in the spirit of true collaboration and responsibility. That was always the spirit of our engagement with vaccine manufacturers since last spring. This evening, at 6:30, the steering board will convene again. I call on AstraZeneca to engage fully, to rebuild trust, to provide complete information, and to live up to its contractual, societal, and moral obligations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We will now take a few questions, and I start with Patrizia Antonini from ANSA.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Eric. So I would like to understand a little bit more this best possible effort, because we saw the interview and the CEO is pretty much pushing on that point. And is it possible also to know what were the numbers of the deliveries due to the EU in the first quarter? And thank you.
Commissioner.
Yes, thank you for that. I think that some of these questions were already answered by my Director General in the technical briefing. I just want to touch on 1 or 2 points. The best effort clause is there because the vaccine hadn't been developed or authorized, and that's why it's called an advanced purchase agreement. But we did select the company on the basis of its production capacity, so they're supposed to be able to produce in time. The logic was that the company makes a binding commitment to pre-produce to the best of its ability, taking a risk even before it gets authorization, and we accept that risk, that if the authorization is not given, we have invested at a loss. But we did not invest in the company in the assumption that they will not be able to pre-produce. So investing and ramping up pre-production capacity was one of the premises of our agreement. I think the other question was on the numbers.
Yeah.
In terms of the numbers paid to AstraZeneca, well, I think that information is confidential and can only be shared with the agreement of the company. Thank you.
As you know, we have asked the company to be able to publish the contract and hope, therefore, to be able to provide the information rapidly, publicly. I now move to Verena Schmidt-Roschmann. Verena.
Yes, it's happening. Thank you very much for the question. The CEO said that the EU was, I think, 2 months after the British to sign the contract. Was the EU just simply too late? And is the vaccine that was that could have been used in the EU being used in the UK and elsewhere instead, so that we are losing out? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I really don't want to go into using this opportunity that I have to share our position with you, commenting on what the CEO has said. What I will say is what I said in my opening statement. In our contract, it is not specified that any country or the UK has priority because it signed earlier. Our contract foresees a quarter-by-quarter schedule, and if this was the case, AstraZeneca should have proposed a clause in the contract acknowledging that they will prioritise, for example, deliveries to the UK, saying this. But there is no such clause in the contract. And let me add one thing, that we are here because we need to put in our best efforts in order to solve this situation. As many of you know, there were difficulties that we had with BioNTech just under 2 weeks ago. We worked together, we solved them. So what we are asking here of AstraZeneca is that they are as open and transparent with what the situation is, so that we can move forward, so that we can resolve the situation for the benefit of all European and not only European citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. I go to Derek Perrot. Perhaps it will be in French.
Allô?
Oui. Derek,
oui, vous m'entendez? Merci. Eric pour la question. Indeed, it will be in French. Vous avez déjà évoqué cette clause de best effort. Est-ce que le problème risque de se poser sur d'autres contrats, ceux qui ont déjà, les précommandes qui ont déjà été pré-signées? Je pense à Johnson & Johnson ou à CureVac. Voilà. Est-ce que vous avez des garanties, est-ce que vous vous en inquiétez actuellement que ces contrats-là, on ne va pas se retrouver dans la même situation?
Could we repeat the translation of the question, please? Sorry, because it took a bit of time to get to... Derek, perhaps ask your question again, because there was a bit of an issue with setting up the translation channel. Si tu peux reposer la question, pardon.
Yeah, I'll do it in English. Are you will we get this best effort clause problem in the next with the next vaccines? Are you sure that Johnson & Johnson or CureVac won't have the same difficulties and won't claim that they have only a best effort clause, not a number, not a commitment.
Thank you very much, Derek, for the question. Well, if they follow and stick to our advanced purchase agreements, there won't be any problems, and our advanced purchase agreements guarantees the manufacturing capacity. Thank you.
Thank you. I now move to David Hersenhorn. David, you have the floor.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Eric, so much for the question. Commissioner, if I could ask you just to clarify and follow up again on Patricia's point about the numbers. We understand from the previous briefings that the EU had an expectation. Now, the contract may have said, best effort, but the EU had an expectation of a certain number of doses. That expectation was adjusted or changed by AstraZeneca at the beginning of December and then again on Friday. So I wonder if you could run us through those numbers. And then on two other quick points. The EU is obviously, EU member states are not the only countries relying on production in the EU. And so I wonder if you've been in touch with other partners, say like Canada, for instance, or South Africa, countries that also have contracts that aren't relying on first in line at the butcher shop, as you said, and are worried now that the EU's own oversights and controls will put Europe first. Do you have assurances to them that this will be worked out in some reasonable fashion? And then maybe the last one is, are there thoughts that the Commission should be focused on other vaccines? You obviously invested in all candidates that were viable, that in fact production may not increase from AstraZeneca no matter what, how many times you argue with them before the steering board. Are there other things you could be doing, say with BioNTech, Pfizer, or other vaccines to get at the real issue, which is how do you get more vaccine faster for European citizens? Thank you.
I'll try and be as brief as possible. First of all, in terms of the numbers, what I can tell you, and it was also stressed before, that the numbers that were shared with us on Friday by the company did not correspond to what was in the advanced purchase agreements and to what we expected. In terms of our global partners, of course, we're in continuous contact with our global partners and through the G7, and I work very closely, of course, with WHO. And I wanted to make a point clear because we're talking about, you spoke about export restrictions, but let me be absolutely clear. The European Union is not imposing an export ban on vaccines or restricting the export of vaccines to third countries. What we have proposed as a Commission is an export transparency mechanism, which will what it will do is bring clarity on the production capacity of manufacturers, the number of doses, as I already have said to you 2 days ago, produced, which production centres, and which doses are sold to which countries, including the EU27. And this is very important to have this transparency and clarity of deliveries. And this is what we're working towards. We are asking, as Mr. Namer said before, we're requesting of AstraZeneca to be as transparent as possible with the contracts. We believe that sharing these will clarify many of the issues and the questions raised. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take two more questions. Lotte, you have the floor.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Lotte.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the question, and thank you, Commissioner. I just want to know, there's been a lot of discussion about EU being too late about ordering the medicine. Were you told by AstraZeneca that because you ordered so late that they say, you finished your order in October, were you told by them that then they might not be able to fulfill the contract, that there might be problems giving you the doses at a certain time? Thank you.
No, I categorically reject this. They signed an agreement. So my answer is very simple, no.
Thank you. Last question, Markus Preiss.
My question to the Commissioner is the following. Because I did not get a clear answer so far. If the production in the UK is better than in the European Union, do you expect AstraZeneca to shift vaccine doses from the UK to the EU? Is my first question. And the second, do you have any indication that production of vaccine doses in the EU was already shifted to the UK? Thank you.
Right. I'll try and readdress that question. Let me be clear. There is no hierarchy of the factories. You are aware that in the contracts there are four factories listed, but it does not differentiate between the UK and Europe. The UK factories are part of our advanced purchase agreements, and this is why they have to deliver. On the doses being shifted, we expect the doses that are in an advanced purchase agreements to be delivered to the European Union. In this sense, it is important that we clarify this, because there was no hierarchy or order in terms of the factories that were in the advanced purchase agreements, and this needs to be absolutely clear. I didn't understand if there was a final question. Did I miss a question?
Yes, there was another question. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I missed the last question.
Yeah.
Yes, I think the question. I think the last question was if we have information on
exports to the UK.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I will say here is that no company should be under any illusion that we don't have the means to understand what is happening. And so we ask all companies to be as transparent as possible with the information, because so that we do know, and this is what we have asked of the company, so we do have a knowledge of the production of the doses, where they were produced, and if they have been sent anywhere where this is. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attention. This brings us to the end of the press conference. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.